Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today at the Real Estate Podcast. I'm Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart International.
And I'm Wendy Forsythe, the Chief Operating Officer here at HomeSmart International.
And I've asked Wendy to be on the podcast today because we wanted to explore a mashup, so to speak, of maybe 4 or 5 little questions here about the mindset of top producers. So, Wendy, I've put together some questions I want to ask you about the mindsets of top producers and what makes them so effective.
Okay,
and,
I'm ready.
Or maybe what's on their mind. So we're going to start with the first one here. What do you think of life balance and how that is portrayed in the life of a top producer?
Okay, so good one, life balance, very topical. We're coming off of some holidays, going into some holidays. I personally don't believe in life balance. Let that hang there for a second. So let me explain what I mean by that, is that top producers, whether in our industry or just top performers in general, I think what they've really figured out that allows them to excel is what I would call work-life integration. So there isn't that line between, well, now I'm working and now I'm not working and it's personal and there's some magic balance that is found. Top performers find a way to quickly go from, I'm working here, but then I got to go take the kids to soccer, and then I got to show houses tonight, and then, I got to tuck the kids into bed. I'm showing houses in the afternoon, but I'm home for dinner between 5 and 6, and then I'm back out on appointments. There's just an integration there. There isn't this fine line, there isn't this hard line between working and not working. And over the years that I've worked with some of the most successful agents and broker owners and companies across the country, that is a commonality of top producers that I see, is they have that ability to integrate all of those things into just the flow of their day.
The word integration solidifies it so well for me because we were just at the National Association of Realtors, and we had to get together with a lot of our top agents from the East Coast, and we were having that very discussion about, for them, a lot of the top producers, there's so much passion there that it's, in a way, it's not work to them. It's what they do, it's what they love, and they were just talking about it's integration is the key, is the right word.
It's integration. It's that ability to, on a Sunday afternoon, get a text from somebody that says, I've got a question, can I call you? And to be able to say, sure, call me. And, have a 15-minute conversation and then hang up the phone and go back to, whatever you were doing. I think we set ourselves up for failure if we think that there's some control that we're going to have that says, I work during these hours, and then I have personal time during these hours, and if any of the two overlap or don't meet, then I don't have work-life balance.
I agree with you.
We're attached to our phones all the time. It's a different way. So I think it's a mindset, and you've got to just shift that mindset of oh, I'm not working, why is somebody texting me, into here's an opportunity, this 15 minutes of my time, and then I'm going to go back to doing, whatever I was doing, before. So I really think about that mindset and integration.
Well, and you never know when opportunity is going to present itself. I mean, you were talking in a meeting yesterday about how sometimes over holidays, there are some agents who will completely disengage completely. And then there are other agents who over the holidays, they actually they engage even more. And next thing you know, during that same time period, they're really moving the needle on their business and gaining ground, and where others maybe disengage too much. Right?
So
good.
That's my
All right.
observation on life balance. What's next?
I like it. That's next. Brand building versus business development.
Yes. Okay.
Which is more important?
I love this topic. So brand building versus business development. So let me define what the difference is between the two. So let's start with business development. So business development is prospecting for business, kind of what we'd expect it to be. So looking for sellers, looking for buyers to build our business. Brand building is more building your brand around real estate. And what you do and the services you offer and the expertise that you have. That is very different than business development. And what I see top agents do is understand the difference. And what I see agents that are not reaching the goals that they have or the aspirations they have for themselves is commingling and not understanding the difference.
Right.
And normally how that manifests is you'll see an agent that's not reaching their goals thinking that they're very, very busy, but they're busy doing brand development. So they're not doing enough business development, which is the prospecting. And that should always come first. Like pretty much, like if I were being really hardcore about it, if we were having sort of a heart-to-heart, if you don't have any business, you don't have a brand to develop.
Right.
So let's work on the business and then we can talk about the brand.
Right.
Because you can develop this wonderful brand, and social marketing has given us such a platform for all of us to be brands in an online world, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to get any listings or sell any houses. So you've got to find very clearly the activities that you're doing and which are contributing to which, and the focus needs to be on the business development.
So do you think top agents actually carve out time and plan time for both of these skills? And what do they do? I mean, like, do they put it on their calendar? Like, what's a tip?
Yeah, they absolutely carve out time. So top agents will carve out time that they're doing business development, and that always comes first. So, I was listening to a top agent talk recently, and they were like, I from 8 to 11 and from 4 to 6 is my prospecting time. And this particular person runs a team. And they were like, from Monday through Thursday, that's our prospecting time. And my team members have to be in 4 out of 8 of those time slots prospecting and doing business development. Then when it comes to brand building, then those are different activities. Now you can leverage the two. So I might be out showing houses and I might take a picture of an interesting water feature in the backyard or an interesting front door, and I might post it on Facebook, which is a brand building activity, but I'm supporting it by what I'm doing, out showing houses, which in order to show the houses, I would have been doing business building activities.
Right.
So it's part of the strategy when you're, sort of looking through your business is how am I doing, supporting building the brand, because that is important. You want to do that, but you can't spend all your time doing that and not developing your business and prospecting for business.
But the takeaway, I guess, that I'm hearing is understand that they're two different things.
Yeah.
And really, you have to carve out time for the one, but you should carve out time for both, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So if I'm just starting to talk with a top agent or with, let's just say with an agent that, is struggling and wants to get their business to the next level, but they feel like they're maxed out on time and, I don't know what to do to, possibly there's more hours in the day to possibly, do more. I'll ask them to write down and look at their calendar for the last sort of 2 weeks, all of your activities and what filled the time in your day. And then we'll block it into these two categories where it's going into one or the other.
Right.
And it's amazing. Like if I had sort of props here to show you that, if we had, oranges that go in each pile, there'd be like one pile that's usually the brand building that's a lot higher than the other pile. And top producers would have more
opposite.
Oranges in the business development pile.
Okay. So keeping with the mindset of top producers, there's a lot of skills that agents need to develop.
Yep.
And if you were to break them down into phases, like what are, in your mind, the key phases that an agent needs to develop to really, or of their skill development? What are the key things they should be focusing on?
So there's 3, and this I didn't create this. This has been a long-known practice, kind of in the coaching business. But the 3 phases are: first phase is in the classroom, and I'll circle back to that. Second phase is then to practice, and then the third phase is to actually perform.
Okay.
So when we think about how that comes to life, is first we've got to learn. We got to learn the skills, we got to learn the techniques, we got to learn the legalities, we got to learn how to write a contract before we, go out and actually do it. So that's the classroom phase. And so we always have to be learning and relearning because we forget, even when we've been in the business, a long time. Once we learn in the classroom though, we got to move over to the practice phase. And this is the phase that tends to make people really uncomfortable. And that's the phase of actually doing it before we're doing it in front of a buyer or seller. Right. So I'm going to use that word that, gets people really uncomfortable, of role playing. So this is like you're going to role play what you're going to say before you actually say it. Right. And top performers do that. They get uncomfortable and they get comfortable with role playing because they've learned, if I'm going to mess it up, I want to mess it up with you and me. Right. I don't want to mess it up with the buyer that's looking to buy a $2 million property, right, or a seller that's looking to sell a $2 million property. Right. So that practice phase is critical. Do not skip that phase. Right. Because then you're ready for performance. Right. And performance is when you're actually in front of a live buyer and seller. And, I think of, professional athletes as a prime example. So we're in the height of football season now. It was a big football, weekend every weekend. But, think of professional football players, right? They in the classroom, they're learning the plays that might be called out in the field. Right. They're practicing before the game together. They're out there doing their scrimmages and making sure that they took what they learned in the classroom out to the field. Right. And then come Sunday, they're ready to perform. Right. And that's no different than what we need to do. If we want to earn professional level salaries and incomes from this business, we need to act like the pros. Right. and use professional athletes as an example of that.
Right. Well, and I'm a big fan of time blocking. And so one of the things that I'm thinking as I'm hearing you talk is an exercise maybe for some of you to do would be to take your last month's calendar and look at it real quick and just write like time block or block it out, like how much was classroom, how much was practice, and how much was performance. And maybe an exercise going forward would be to take 30 days and time block, some classroom, some practice, and some performance, because sometimes you can go to a classroom setting and come away with one nugget, and that one little idea is something then that you can go practice and then implement, and it really moves the needle on your business. Yep. So
for sure. We got one more before we run out of time.
Okay, here we go. I know.
That's our last one.
Last one.
Okay.
This is a big one that I hear agents debate back and forth a lot. Should agents hire a coach?
Absolutely. I'm a total all in. Figure out your budget. Make money. Find money to hire a coach. We just talked about professional athletes as an example. Right. Professional athlete is a professional because they have a coaching staff, and they often have multiple coaches. Right. And top performing real estate agents and teams often have multiple coaches in our business as well. Right. But you should start with at least one.
And coaches that they even hire, like even though they might be on a pro football team, they might hire and pay for a strength coach. Or a conditioning coach, right?
Your broker can be your coach, but they're your broker. There's a difference between that. And you should seek out someone that you feel comfortable with, someone that understands what your goals are, what your strengths are, and can hold you accountable and help you get your business where you need it to be. And it may not be the same person always. So, the best coaches out there recognize that you're going to work, that our goal together when we work together is to get from point A to point B. When you go from point B to point C, there might be another coach that is needed to get you there. So it doesn't mean that you always have to work with that person, but if you are all in and doubling down on your business, you absolutely need a coach to help get you there.
Right. Well, this has been great. So here we've explored the mindset of top producers. We've covered 4 really key topics, about life balance, about brand building versus business development, 3 phases of skill development, and then tiring a coach. So Wendy, thank you for sharing those thoughts and those
thank you for having
tips
me, Todd.
With everyone. Thank you all for joining us today on the Real Estate Podcast, and be on the lookout for future episodes. And come join us again. I'm Todd Sumney, the Chief Industry Officer for HomeSmart.
And I'm Wendy Forsythe, the Chief Operating Officer at HomeSmart.
So thank you all for joining us today. Take care.
We'd like to invite you to subscribe to our podcast, The Real Estate.
And for those of you who are listening and who have listened to the podcast, we'd also invite you to like them and to give us reviews on how the podcast has affected your business.
So subscribe, like, and review. Thank you.